Hi everyone. We can
Morning.
see people joining in slowly. Names are coming through. Lobby's filling up. So we just give it one more moment before we introduce ourselves, and then we'll kick off. Room's filling up quite quickly, Sammy.
Yeah, let's give a few more seconds and I think maybe we kick off because
Yeah,
we've got quite a lot to cover, haven't we?
absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, cool. I think whilst people are still joining, it gives us a perfect opportunity to do some introductions to ourselves, and then we'll kick off into content. So, Sammy, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself first?
Sure. Hi, everyone. So I'm Samantha Barrett and I head up Mint UK. I've been in the dynamics space now for around 13 years, predominantly with manufacturing and professional services customers, and my background is contractual and commercial.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm Amar, Head of Solutions here at Mint UK. Similar background to Sammy. I've been in the industry for 11 years now, both across partner side and end user side, implementing solutions from a functional technical perspective with, again, manufacturing and professional services customers. Cool. Okay. So looks like the lobby's filling up. So let's kick off then. So welcome to today's webinar, everyone. In terms of learning how to evaluate and revitalize your existing ERP solution from an F&SCM perspective. So what we'll do, just very quickly, we will go through the contents. So what we're going to cover today. Firstly, we'll start off with common ground, the challenges that customers are facing in the industry, kind of conversations we've had, and why we are where we are today with our proactive Discover offering. We'll then move into a bit about Mint, what our proactive Discover offering is, and tell you a bit more information about that and why it addresses the challenges that we've just spoke about. We'll then move forward into some case studies, talk about some actual proactive discovers that we run with customers, what they came to us with, what the outputs were, and kind of the benefit that they received from running an engagement like this. And then we'll move into how you can start your proactive journey with us today and start to assess and do a health check on your system and create an optimization plan out the back of that for yourselves. Then finally, we'll do a conclusion and a wrap up and summary of the session. Cool. So let's move into the first slide, which is our common ground challenges customers face. So I think at this point, Sammy, it'd be really great if you could let us know some of the challenges that we've had with customers coming to
Mm,
us, what kind of issues they've been facing, and the common kind of things that we hear
yeah.
across the industry with these customers.
Yeah, so I think so I'd say probably 80 to 90% of our customers are customers that have already gone live with D365 F&O, and they are not using it optimally. So they've been through the whole implementation cycle, spent a lot of money, spent a lot of time because ERP is massive. It's a big overhead for a business, but they're not getting the value that they want out of that system. I think the other thing as well, from a governance and a commercial perspective, customers really want some visibility around the likely spend if they're going to embark on an optimization. So what the actual timeline and cost is, at a really simple level, who they're going to need from the business to be involved. This isn't just a partner-driven activity. There's a lot of input from the customer. And actually, there's quite a big requirement from a customer to dedicate the right people with the right skill set and the right capacity to make this a success. So we work with customers to also map that out as a pre-implementation exercise before we move towards any technology implementation. Um, and I think also just around the business case and the business value. Again, it sounds quite obvious, but a lot of the time it's about taking the business value in context of that business and quantifying it and helping customers justify that to a board so that we can move forward.
Awesome. No, I think that's yeah, there's kind of conversations we've had with customers across the board and kind of what they come to us with. If I just cover some of the sort of wider functional technical challenges that they come to us with, you kind of see this growing technical debt, and it's things in the first implementation or in the first round, it's things that they kind of ignored or maybe forgot or kind of promised it was on the roadmap, but then they never realized that in terms of the solution. We kind of see customers coming to us with kind of disconnected data, and they're not getting the reporting capabilities that they expected from the system just because the processes and data wasn't thought out in that way. Quite often we're seeing customers with inefficient integrations. So they've gone live with the solution, but actually the integration framework isn't hanging together, and therefore you're getting kind of efficiency leaks in the process. Um, and another key one is actually performance bottlenecks. So people have been live with the system for a number of years. They've had data building up. They might not have the right sizing of their environments, and actually they're suffering from some performance issues, which is again leading to a reduced productivity. So all these kind of things, you see unwarranted customizations on ISV solutions that weren't well thought out. And actually now as Microsoft release more and more functionality, they're finding that those customizations are kind of blocking their upgrade path. And they're being tied down to these heavy customization ISV solutions when actually they just want to move to standard product. So these are kind of
Mm.
challenges that we see. It's really interesting around the data and reporting element as well. Speaks to a lot of businesses who want to start doing more around their ESG and sustainability type reporting. And actually, they realize they haven't got the underlying data structures in the system. So they're struggling to get that kind of reporting layer out of the back of it. And this is just an overview of the kind of challenges that we faced with customers, you know, in our time in the industry, but also here at Mint UK. I guess that kind of leads us nicely into now why are we here? Who are we as Mint Group? And why did we put the proactive Discover framework together to start to address some of these issues with our customers? So yeah, tell us a bit about Mint UK, Mint Group, Sammy.
Yeah, so I imagine the majority of people on this call have probably never heard of us, but Mint Group's been around now for over 20 years. So, founded out of South Africa, full stack partner, F&SCM, CRM, Azure, etc. Here in the UK, we intentionally focus purely on F&SCM, given the complexity and the specialization that it requires. A couple of other key things to point out. We are in a circle, have been for the last 9 consecutive years. And we also have all 7 solution designations. And this is really important because it's an assurance to you guys on the call that actually, whenever we speak about F&SCM, we know the latest and greatest. And whenever we embark on any discovery or any analysis, anything we suggest is really taking into account the F&SCM environment.
Perfect, cool. No, I think those designations are really important, especially like the fast tracking in a circle. They give us an extra layer of sort of ownership from Microsoft representation, so we can take some of
Yeah.
these challenges and stay ahead. Awesome,
Yeah,
cool.
the other thing that I would just point out actually, and I know Amar, you're going to cover this extensively with the proactive discover, but we are very delivery led and we are business process led. So what we don't do is sit down and go ahead and configure a D365 solution based on a bunch of requirements. We really work with a business to understand where that business wants to go, and we make sure that the ERP system works for that business and enables that growth. So there's also the consultative approach to our
Absolutely,
methodology.
absolutely. Perfect, cool. So that's who we are. Let's move into what is Proactive Discover. Why are we all here today? So, given the challenges that we just discussed, kind of issues that customers are facing, what we decided to do is put this Proactive Discover framework together. And essentially, this is our Mint framework approach methodology to assessing either greenfield implementations and the ERP landscape, but in particular, with our focus today, assessing the situation for customers who already have D365 F&SCM implemented. And this is about realizing and maximizing the benefit that you can get from the system and really getting, that kind of approach that you were expecting when you embarked on an F&SCM implementation. So how do we do this? There's a 360 system health check and assessment. We can quite quickly pinpoint the root causes of performance issues, identify any risky customizations, integrations. This is always an interesting point because you speak to many customers and they actually aren't aware of the customizations or the ISV solutions that they've bought into as part of their solution. So they find it really difficult to articulate what is standard out of the box Microsoft product and what has been custom made for them. So we can come in and help identify that and really make it clear what is standard product versus what is custom to them. We can assess the data security and licensing landscape. I think this is a really important kind of area. Licensing has just come on the Microsoft roadmap, and it's something that they're looking into. So they will be making licensing changes over the course of this year. They will now enforce license restrictions. So if you do not have the correct licenses, as of today, you will still be able to access the system. Later this year, that will not be the case, and you will get an error message blocking you from accessing the system if you don't have the correct allocations. So as part of our sort of health check and assessment, we can understand where you are with your licensing and security requirements and actually optimize that in terms of making sure you're aligned to the latest Microsoft changes. I think Sammy just mentioned this on the previous slide, but this is really where we sort of stand out in terms of this framework. We are leading with a business first approach. This isn't just about leading with the latest technology and saying, this is this cool piece of tech, let's sell you this tech, let's put it in the business, this is what it can do. We lead with the business first approach. So, what are the business trying to achieve? What are the goals and objectives? We make sure we get the correct stakeholder buy-in to this process so that they're bought in, they take ownership of the process and the solution moving forwards, and really articulate what it is they want and the benefits that they want to realize out of this kind of
Mm.
optimization piece. And that's really where we focus is a business first approach before we then align the technology to those business requirements and goals and objectives. And that's the key thing, yeah, is to bridge that gap between the business teams and the IT teams. And then out the back of it, our main objective is to deliver a clear roadmap to value and return on investment to yourselves. So that comes in the form of a prioritized plan, optimization plan. And we do a lot of Moscow rating on these plans in terms of these are all the options for optimization. Actually, where is the biggest ROI and where do we want to focus our attention from first so that we
Mm.
can really work through that roadmap with the customers and unlock, new features and capabilities and make the most of their investment. So that's a bit of an overview of what is our proactive discover framework. It's kind of
Like,
segues
I'll just add
nicely.
to that. Sorry, Emma,
Absolutely.
very quickly.
Yeah.
Apologies. I think that planning and that commercial element is extremely important. ERP projects are extensive and they're very costly, and we base our costings and our estimates on something called an application model, which we'll touch on a little bit later. But these are essentially critical factors of a project, which we can either leverage and increase, which will increase the timeline and cost, or reduce it. And we have that very open book, transparent conversation with customers right from the off before we go anywhere near the implementation. And that's one of the key outputs of this discovery phase.
Absolutely. Perfect. So that takes us nicely into some of the next slides. So I'm going to kind of breeze over this one because we've got a case study slide, but these are some of the customers that kind of trusted us, worked with us over a period of time across the manufacturing, distribution, and services industries. And these are customers that have engaged us and see us as trusted advisors. If we move into this slide, this kind of provides us with some more detail on the case studies of customers that have carried out proactive discover engagements with us today, why they came to us, and kind of what they got out of it. I think one of the really interesting one for us, Sammy, was ABFI. This is one of our
Yep.
first proactive discover customers in the UK. They came to us with a really disparate sort of not a joined up approach in terms of their system landscapes that acquired many businesses, different units over a period of time. And they were in a position where some units and businesses and brands were using F&SCM, some were using AX, some were on SAP, some were on Oracle, and that's just due to the nature of their growth. And they decided
Yep.
that Microsoft was going to be the platform for them moving forwards. And they wanted to engage us in terms of how can they standardize and make use of the Microsoft platform, especially from an F&SCM perspective, to create this templated approach globally across many of their business units so that it's really easy for them to then buy in as they acquire new businesses and units. They can easily onboard those units into this templated solution design and make Microsoft their foundation for growth. That's a really interesting piece of work we do with ABFI, kind of full end-to-end finance and supply chain review. We created a new gold standard set of level one and level two business processes and a taxonomy that we delivered to them to create that solution blueprint and foundation for their implementation moving forward. That's a really interesting piece of work.
Yeah, I think as well, just to emphasize the standardization part, I remember when we first started engaging with ABFI, and there was a consensus that all 8 business units were so autonomous and we couldn't possibly standardize any of the process across any of the units. Well, actually, you can. And the product is so well developed now that it suits most businesses, at least kind of a 70-80% rule. And we put that in place. And actually, the other important thing out of that engagement was around the change management piece. So winning the hearts and minds of those leaders across those 8 different units and getting them to buy into this standardized approach and with this future state to be process. And I think we did that quite successfully.
Absolutely. Perfect. We've also got a Lanes Group, so they came to us again. They've kind of had the benefit of growing and acquiring quite quickly, which naturally brings some pains along with it. You know, disparate ERP systems, multiple various versions of ERPs across the group. And again, they've decided they want to standardize into the Microsoft sort of platform. But really, you know, they had an F&SCM implementation. They were looking to optimize what they already had, make most of, you know, the licenses that they've already committed to, the solution they've already bought into, kind of fine tune the processes and really get some extra efficiency gains out of what they're already using today. And a piece of work that we're currently carrying out with them is a piece around the technical and the performance review. So they wanted to make sure that they can fine tune their integrations, but also make sure the system is running as cleanly and as smoothly as possible. This really involves us looking at the data, where we can store the data, how we can reduce, you know, the kind of customization reliance in their system, go back to standard product to get the most out of the performance and the solution landscape. So that was a really interesting one. Also got Harrison Spinks. I actually think we have maybe some representation from Harrison Spinks on the call. But Harrison Spinks came to us, had a really solid implementation of F&SCM actually. We've done some really good work with them. But they wanted to come to us to kind of assess their production and their warehousing processes in particular. So there was a large focus on the piece of work we've done around production, warehousing, stock, quality, those kind of things, and the associated financial, you know, the costings off the back of those processes. So we very quickly became familiar with their business, what they do, how they're running their production and their stock warehousing processes. And we put forwards to them an optimization plan in terms of the focus areas, looking at their MES interfaces, looking at some of their warehouse and handheld processes, and actually what are the areas that we can focus on to deliver quick value to optimize and gain efficiencies in those areas. We're actually currently working with Harrison Spinks to work through that backlog of items, and they've now moved into our proactive transform framework for the delivery of those optimization elements. And it's a customer we're looking forwards to working with further for wider scopes of kind of discovery and optimization. And then one of the really interesting ones as well is Aurora Energy. So professional services in the energy sector. They came to us as a kind of greenfield implementation, but they were looking for a templated solution across multiple legal entities. So they've done a you know business-wide discover, but then they moved into our proactive transform framework to roll out this solution to 15 countries across the globe. So some really interesting case studies there with our previous customers. And just probably want to point out, you know, a lot of these customers have kind of bought into our managed services and support approach. So underpinning the optimization and the implementation work we're doing with them, they also have kind of working with us for their managed services and ongoing support alongside any other work we're doing.
And I'll just say very quickly, because I'm conscious of time, we've got a lot of stuff to get through.
Mm.
But by virtue of the proactive discover that we run, by baselining things and putting together some of the outputs, one of which is a base build tracker, a really detailed account of what's in F&SCM, that gives a really nice foundation from which to manage services or support. And that allows us then to judge whether something is a true change or whether it is a defect, and it allows us to basically make sure it follows the path that it should to resolution.
Absolutely. Perfect. Cool. So let's move into the 9 simple steps for success. So how can you start your proactive discover journey with us today? And these are kind of steps that we would follow to carry this out with you. So firstly, when you engage with us, we'll do an onboarding session. We'll make sure we know who the teams are both sides. You'll nominate a team from your side to carry out this initial online survey IP tool that we've got to quickly understand your requirements and do an initial fit gap analysis against those requirements. And we partner with a company called SIA, who've created this online survey and kind of forms our guiding principles of our wider Discover approach. So you fill out the survey, we do an online review together of the survey, and we do an initial analysis handover document to give you an initial kind of fit gap based on a list of requirements. But this really then forms a foundation for a consultative approach around envisioning workshops, understanding what are the goals and objectives of the business before then moving into detailed solution assessment workshops so we can understand your as is situation, but more importantly, start to talk about your to be landscape and what that can look like. And then this is then delivered in the form of a business value assessment and the handover and deployment plan that we spoke about with the optimization plan and the Moscow ratings around the most high priority items to be optimized. So just want to talk about this because this is one of the key deliverables that you get out of doing the Proactive Discover framework with us. This is our Mint Business Process Accelerator, so something we're very, very proud of. Put a lot of time and effort into creating this to align with the Microsoft kind of roadmap and the vision that they're doing. They've released their business process taxonomy, a standard taxonomy business process suite that captures key business end-to-end processes across multiple industries. And what we've done is really we've taken that, but we've tailored it based on our experience in industry, what are the key challenges customers are facing, and also the innovative solutions that we've been able to put in place. So as part of the Proactive Discover framework, you will unlock the level 1 and level 2 process hierarchy, and we will work with you throughout the Discover engagement to tailor that level 1 and level 2 process suite to meet the needs of your business. And this will be delivered to you in the form of like a gold standard to be set of process flows. And this forms a guiding principles then for any further work, any optimizations or foundation for future implementation work. And this is really great because alongside your sort of global process flows, out the back of it, we hang off our level 3 and 4 process flows. We hang off our test scripts and our training material. So it's really sort of, addressing the time to value that you can get and speeding up the implementation process later on down the line. So that's one of the key deliverables we offer as part of Proactive Discover. Another one is a solution blueprint and application model. This gives you an early indication or an estimation on kind of what is the scope of the solution or the optimizations that we are putting forward. What are the modules that we're addressing or touching as part of the solution redesign? What are the key output documents we might need to consider? The reporting requirements, and maybe any integrations that are also in scope in terms of this optimization work. So we work through those kind of enterprise architecture principles, understanding the goals and objectives of the business, understanding the application layer. And then as we move through, we also move through the data layer, which is where our estimated application model comes in. And this is really key because you'll get early insights into how we are creating this roadmap, what the project plan behind it, what that looks like, and how it's put together. So you start to get really early insights into any data requirements and start to think about that early on. You'll then also get a comprehensive project pack. So this will be an indicative program plan, the costings and the estimates associated with that, and how you can move forward with really optimizing your solution. And this moves me nicely into then our Proactive Discover, Proactive Transform framework. And as you can see, it's a seamless transition the way we've designed it from Proactive Discover, this early Discover engagement, understanding your goals, your objectives as a business, evaluating your system, and actually creating a new level 1 and 2 to be process to take forwards for optimization. And there's a seamless transition then into our Proactive Transform framework to be able to deliver these optimizations and deliver that value to your business. And this is really then where you start to unlock the level 3 and 4 process hierarchy and take that forwards to really add the detail behind these processes. Quick overview of some of the wider services that we offer. So alongside the Proactive Transform framework that we spoke about today, We also offer advisory services. We offer our implementation services, which we covered with our Discover and Transform. We offer optimization services, and we also offer managed services in terms of support, upgrade testing, and out of hours monitoring and services. Perfect. So, what can you do today? So, I just want to highlight one kind of key point here is some of the customers that we've engaged with over the course of our time here at Mint UK have benefited from some Microsoft funding. So Microsoft do offer funding to customers. There are some sort of terms and conditions that you need to meet to be eligible for this funding. But the great thing is you can have this partially funded by Microsoft to do a discover of your solution as it is today, of your as is framework, and create that to be framework to really enhance and optimize your systems landscape. So reach out to us today. We are offering, after the back of this webinar, we are offering a free initial sort of consultation. So reach out to us and we can schedule a consultation in with myself and Sammy, and we will look to understand what are your business requirements, what is your as is landscape, and actually what is it that you're looking to unlock from your systems and your processes moving forward. So please reach out to us today, book in that initial half-an-hour consultation with us, and we can talk to you about starting your journey and look at what that might entail in terms of some funding from Microsoft to support this process. And then finally, just a sort of a plug for some of our upcoming webinars. I think, Sammy, you're going to be running a webinar in
Yep.
July, which is all around sort of evaluating your F&SCM support and managed services, and how we as Mint Group can come in and handle your support and managed service element. And that's on the 23rd of July. We've got the link embedded in the presentation deck here. The presentation deck will be sent out to everybody. You'll also get our contact email addresses should you want to reach out to us and schedule that initial consultation to start your proactive journey. Perfect. So that just leaves us then with a couple of minutes. If there's any questions, if there's any topics that have come through on the Q&A. Pranay, I don't know if you can still hear us. Have we had anything come through on the Q&A?
We have had a question, actually a really interesting one. So thanks for that, Gaurav. And you mentioned not just addressing specific business pain points, but looking at things more holistically. And that's exactly what this does. So a lot of the time we have, change requests and enhancements come through. Our ethos is very much, well, actually what we'd prefer to do is take a step back and look at whether there's any fundamental or inherent issues with how the F&SCM landscape is configured and pulled together that might be causing these small changes, rather than have the customer spend money and time on quick fixes or patching over things.
Yeah, that's a really great question, actually. It's something that
Yeah.
I speak about with a lot of our customers. Actually, a lot of the time there is an underlying sort of issue or wider concern. And whilst it's great to look at the specific pain points within the business, what our sort of specialists and experts are really great at doing is understanding the wider impact and the crossover impact into other functional areas or business areas, and being able to investigate those and ensure that the sort of solution and proposals hang together across the board, and we're not just trying to do patch fixes in area, which then leads
Yeah.
to more concerns further down the line. So I think that's a really great point, Gaurav, and thank you for that question. Okay, perfect. So if you do have any other further questions that you want to reach out to us, please feel free to drop us an email following this session. The slide deck will be sent out. Please get in contact with us today to book your free initial consultation with us, and let's start your proactive discover journey moving forwards.
Thanks, everyone.
Perfect.
Thank you for your
Thank you
time.
all for joining, and speak to you soon.
Thank you,
Take care.
Mo. Thank you,
Cheers.
Sammy. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.